WrestleMania is officially in the books, and I want to take some time today for us to sit down, reflect, and we're going to talk about some amazing moments that happened at WrestleMania 38 today on the show. Hey everybody, welcome back to Assemble. I'm Matt. Great to have you here. We're tired. We got the WrestleMania hangover going on. But it was a lot of fun, top to bottom. I really enjoyed the show. Today is just taking some time to reflect and look at some of the really cool moments, standout stuff. This isn't going to cover everything. We're not reviewing the show here, but it's for us to sit down and go through these amazing things that happened during the course of the show. I'm not pointing out everything. It's 2 nights. There's a lot there. So get in the comments and you start telling Matt what you enjoyed, okay? With the show, with both nights of WrestleMania. I got a little list here on my phone. I want to go through some of these things that really did stand out. One of the first ones on my list that popped up was going to be the Sami Zayn Johnny Knoxville match. I love this thing. This was fun. I knew this was going to be gimmicky. I knew there was just going to be shenanigans, but they got all the Jackass crew in there. Michael Cole was losing it on commentary the entire time. He could not stop laughing. The mousetrap at the end was hilarious. The gigantic hand that smacked Sami out of nowhere. It was hilarious. Wee Man does a body slam on Sami Zayn. I was surprised at how much I really enjoyed this fight, this match, this silliness. Because usually with the celebrity matches, we had quite a few of them for WrestleMania. Usually they're kind of whatever, they're good, they're fine. But this was just so much fun. So speaking of the celebrities, I wanted to highlight Pat McAfee from Seven Nation Army as his intro for the entrance. He had the entire crowd behind him from the get-go. He was having a ton of fun. When he punted the football into the crowd, for a split, he launched that thing, which was hilarious. But if he missed it, that would have been so bad, but everything just clicked. Him against Austin Theory, it was fun. I thought that Pat, when he did his flip from the top rope and he landed on his feet, was incredible. Pat showed just how athletic he is. I don't want to see Pat McAfee in the ring doing multiple matches a year. But this was really beyond my expectations. I know Pat has done a bunch of crazy stuff with his NXT matches. He's not afraid to do huge bumps. He did the Swanton and he missed everything. He landed right on his back. It looked painful. But once again, like the Jackass match, this one was different. It had a lot going on at the end of the match. But 2 celebrity matches stood out as some of my fan favorite moments throughout the entire 2 nights. And they were both on night 2. Now we're talking Pat McAfee. We obviously can't talk about this without talking about Stone Cold Steve Austin. Let's go back for a second though. Night 1, Stone Cold, the match against KO, setting that whole thing up, watching the whole thing live. I grew up with Stone Cold Steve Austin throughout the Attitude Era. This was big. I knew we were going to get a brawl. I didn't think we would get a real match set up between these two. And Austin taking bumps and the amount of beer he's swigging through the whole thing with KO. Suplexing Kevin Owens. It was fun, and it was a really fun way to cap off night 1 of WrestleMania. Then you get night 2 when he comes out again. Vince McMahon was ringside for the match with Austin Theory and Pat McAfee. And then at the end, Vince is teasing to get in the ring and fight Pat McAfee. And then he does it, and he's got the tank top from the 90s. Vince is 75 years old and he's jacked. This was so silly, and you were waiting. You're sitting there waiting, wondering. I was wondering if Austin would come out for this or if they would just do straight up Pat versus Vince. And sure enough, glass breaks and Austin comes out. The funny part is there's a moment right before Austin's music hits. Austin Theory's music hits first, and Vince, as soon as that music hit, he had the surprised look on his face. Like he didn't know what was happening, or he had the oh my god face. So I think it tripped up Vince. He thought Austin's music was going to hit, and it didn't first. Then it hits, Austin comes out, and we get the worst stunner in the world ever, even by Vince's standards. This was such an amazing moment, watching Austin's reaction of Vince McMahon, the whole thing, from Vince cracking the beer, telling him to wait, taking little tiny sips of it, and then trying to pull off a stunner that just wasn't even a stunner. It was nothing. He gets the kick, and he lands on his feet. You have to watch it back 10 times to figure out what happened to Vince. When he lands on his feet and gets up, and he springs against the ropes and comes back, and then he just hits it and falls. It was atrocious. But then the Austin Theory stunner was the bicycle kick that never ended, and he just went bouncing in the air, and that was great. Another big highlight for me that I thought was a great moment was Edge and Damien Priest at the very end. There's been the rumors right now of Edge starting up a new stable. It looks like we have the foundation of that. The Edge AJ match itself was kind of whatever to me. I love Edge's entrance. I love the gear. I love the look, everything. I think it's cool that Damien Priest was out there at the very end. It's a good fit for Damien Priest. He's not doing anything since dropping the US title. And this would allow Damien Priest to do a lot of the heavy lifting when Edge is not going to be on TV every single week. They can recruit Damien Priest, maybe Ciampa, maybe a few other people, get some women in there into the stable. I'd love to see a Rhea Ripley or a Liv Morgan join. But it's a cool thing that they can all go under the wing of Edge, and he can use all of these stars, or just even Damien Priest right now, to do his bidding. And they could probably extend the feud with AJ a lot longer. But it's a great point, and it's a great moment, I think, of WrestleMania, because it's kicking off a new storyline with Edge. And one of the other highlights is the Becky-Bianca match. The whole match itself. Becky going for the slam early, going for the finish of the match at the very beginning. This was probably my favorite wrestling match of the entire 2 nights. It had high energy, high pace, and Bianca has now 2 wins at WrestleMania. Becky said in interviews prior to Mania starting that whether she's on first, middle, last, she's still going to steal the show. And I think she did. I think her and Bianca stole the show for the best all-around match of the night, of both nights. I do wonder what they do from here on out with Becky. She's a heel. They might flip her face. Bianca's going to need to start really hitting a lot of competition and getting some wins under her belt. They'll probably run this thing back at WrestleMania Backlash. But I was engaged with this match beginning to end. Loved it, the whole thing. No shenanigans, no nothing. Just Bianca winning, Becky putting her over. It really worked. I really wish that this did go second to last. I understand the placement of things a little bit. You know, I would either wanted this to kick off WrestleMania, because I found the beginning of the show a little dull. It didn't hook me right away on night 1, specifically. If you're not going to put Becky, Bianca last, because obviously you have Stone Cold Steve Austin coming back, I think I would have rather had that match go first. Kick it off, high intensity, the crowd will be just eating it up even more. But it was still the standout match. That Ronda-Charlotte match didn't do much for me. I'm glad that Charlotte retained. I'm curious what Ronda's going to do coming out of this. But if you put the Bianca-Becky match and swap them for Charlotte, I think that would have been a mistake, because you have a really killer match and then you're going into this final moment, Kevin Owens and Stone Cold Steve Austin. I think you wanted those things to breathe. You almost needed a downer of a match before Stone Cold and KO, because the crowd was just gonna eat that thing alive. I got 2 more things on my list here that really stood out as just amazing moments. And very quickly, Cody Rhodes. American Nightmare. He has all his AEW, all his Cody branding is there. He came out, he looked happy. He had a great match with Seth. It had that shock moment, that WrestleMania moment that they always talk about that you want to have. You knew it was Cody, but you still wanted to just see it for yourself, and the lights go down and it pops up and you hear his music. And I'm glad that it was all Cody Rhodes, Cody branding. It was a fun match, and watching Cody felt like he was at home. Felt like he kind of belongs in WWE. If that makes sense. It just feels right. It feels like a really good fit for him. And I wonder how he's going to get treated and the types of matchups he's going to have. I think he is going to be up in that upper echelon of the card in rivalries with your Kevin Owens and your Seth Rollins and everyone that's kind of like towards the top of the card. Now, last thing on this list, and the list could go on, and there's tons of other key moments and stuff I loved. I love the Montez Ford spot with the RKO. That was just fun. There's just fun moments throughout these 2 nights. But the last thing I want to touch on is Triple H. Triple H kicking off night 2, coming out, huge entrance, the huge game entrance. He spits out water, the whole thing. And he has his boots, he has his wrestling boots, and he puts them in the ring. Says, welcome to WrestleMania. And he pretty much retires with class. This sums up a lot of Triple H to me. At least the latest memory iteration of Triple H, where he doesn't have this giant ceremony. He doesn't have this huge video package about him. It's kind of subtle. He comes out at night 2. He gets the response that he would want. He gets to pose. He gets his family there. Puts his boots in the ring. And he doesn't have to say he's retired. He's done the interviews before about it. But a great moment for him. And then proceeds to just put over and start the show for WrestleMania. I was sad when Triple H announced that he was going to retire. I assumed he was going to. I didn't see him wrestling. But now it's truly, with his medical conditions and everything, it's truly over. And it changes it. it evolves and it closes a chapter of wrestling that I've grown up with your Triple H and your Undertaker, Rock, Stone Cold. And we had Mr. McMahon, Stone Cold, Triple H, Undertaker, all making appearances through WrestleMania weekend. It really felt like that was the closing chapter. Triple H almost the last. Having Undertaker going into the Hall of Fame we knew about, and Triple H retiring officially. It feels like the closure of the Attitude Era, that era of wrestling that we grew up with, that I grew up with. I feel like that is officially closed. I know The Undertaker says, never say never, brother, but it's kind of Hulk Hogan, isn't it? But I feel like it's really closing things. Austin had his final match moment in Dallas at WrestleMania, main event, having 2 spots with it too, which was huge. It makes it fun. There is nostalgia in there. It's exciting. And overall, for me, WrestleMania 38, it's going to be remembered as just being really fun. Really, really fun. No bad matches. There are moments that stand out that are like, the injuries, the main event with Brock and Roman. I thought it was a standard Brock Roman match. It's kind of whatever at this point, but we can move on from all of that. And it felt overall 2 nights of this in that format. It worked for me, and it was a lot of fun. Because there are some WrestleManias that are a slog, and I don't envy anybody having to sit down and watch it for 2 nights, 1 night for 8 hours long. But anyways, those are just some amazing moments that I personally really, really enjoy. But let me know in the comments below, what did you enjoy from WrestleMania? Throw them in the comments. And if you guys enjoy this episode, please do me a favor and hit that like button, hit that subscribe button as we're hitting closer and closer to 20,000 subscribers. I sincerely appreciate all your support here on the channel, and I will see you on the next episode.